Reduce, reuse, and recycle. It's a mantra that's been drilled into our heads for years that we all have a responsibility to help protect our environment. Hello, I'm Betty Hollister, and welcome to another edition of the Flood Channel. Coming up on today's show, we'll make the connection between flood control and protecting our desert land and lake. We'll also show you what you can do at home to make a difference in your community. You may wonder why the Flood Control District is talking about protecting the environment. But the fact is that water that flows through our detention basins, channels, and storm drains ends up untreated in Lake Mead. Carrie Ann has more about what the district is doing to try and keep that water as clean as possible.
The Las Vegas Wash carries all of the valley's excess water to Lake Mead. And while some of that water comes from storm events, a significant amount flows through the wash when it's not raining. That water comes from people overwatering their lawns, washing their cars in the street, or dumping chemicals in the gutter. The Stormwater Quality Management Committee helps unite the district with other entities to maintain that quality of water flowing through the wash.
The Flood Control District's role in stormwater quality management is as a regional agency. We bring all of the owners and operators of the flood control system together to one table. In most cases, the state or EPA will issue a permit to a single city. What we bring to the table is that we have multiple jurisdictions in the Las Vegas Valley, all of the cities in Clark County, and we can bring them together as a regional agency.
The biggest difference between Nevada and any other state is that we are the most arid state in the country. But with that, especially over the last 10 years, not only were we the most arid, but we're the fastest growing. And that, in a sense, does create some unique challenges about how we move forward.
One of the big things that the Regional Flood Control District does are the common elements, the public outreach. And we do public service announcements. We do one for over-irrigation, we do one for cleaning up after your animals, and we do one for car washing. Now, more than 50% of the water that flows in our storm drain system flows on days that it does not rain. So the things that we do on a daily basis, all together as a community, make a big difference.
Our waterways have multiple beneficial uses. They're not just drinking water, they're aesthetic, they're recreational. I mean, we all have to play a role in protecting those waterways.
We have a stormwater and dry weather sampling program where we take the samples on dry weather days and on wet weather days to the lab, and we find out what's in those samples. We take these samples so that we can see what's in our stormwater, and if something comes up, we can develop a program to address it.
MWH's role is to test wet weather for this program. The program has multi-facets, but MWH is working strictly on the wet weather program. When we determine that there's enough rain that we can come out and take a rainwater sample, we come out to our sites, and at each site we have an automated sampler, so it'll automatically collect flow, and then we can take that water and test it. In a dry weather event, the flow in the wash is typically from runoff of over-irrigation, broken pipes, things like that. And so you'll see a little bit different concentrations and things of the urban pollutants in the wash.
The Las Vegas Wash is an extremely important asset for the valley. Not only does the wash transport stormwater and urban runoff back to the lake, but it also provides a valuable recreational element for the community. Several groups work together to help monitor the cleanliness of the wash. The water is tested frequently to find out what residents can do to cut down on pollutants.
The sorts of compounds we're finding are fragrances, there's a compound called tonalide and galaxolide. They're actually found at the highest concentrations in the water and actually in the fish. And we're also finding things like triclosan, which is an antibacterial soap that people use. But we also find things from manufacturing plants. We even find things like caffeine, flame retardants that are put into different products that we find. Some of the products are actually found in the wash at times. We find what's called polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, PAHs, sort of things you find in fuel, and either burned or unburned from fuel products. So that runs off just from the streets.
The biggest concentrations are probably oil and greases from the roads, leaky cars, and also just the asphalt itself has a lot of petroleums and oils in it. And then pesticides and herbicides are also a big thing. In the valley, it has helped that a lot of people have switched to desert landscaping. And so ultimately the concentration of herbicides and pesticides will go down.
Most people know to recycle plastic water bottles and clean up after their pets, but there's some other things you could be doing that might not be as obvious.
It is very easy to make a big impact even by doing small things. Just making a decision at the store, I'm going to choose a product that doesn't have a fragrance in it. That makes a big impact. If everybody did that, then there would be a big change.
We pick up after our pets, if we don't over-fertilize our lawns, if we don't over-irrigate our lawns, and if we take our cars to a land-based car wash that recycles the wash water and doesn't discharge it to the storm drain system, all these things add up to protect the surface water environment.
And we all have a kind of a shared interest in protecting that. Whether it's your business or your home or whatever it might be, we have a need to be conscious about what we're doing.
The impact from individuals as an individual would be relatively minor, but when you multiply that by the 2 million people that live in the Vegas Valley area, it can be quite significant. And obviously we're seeing some of those effects in wildlife. If 2 million people make that one decision, that's a big change.
The point is, what seems like a small step at home can add up to have a big impact on the environment. Limiting the use of pesticides and herbicides, keeping trash off the streets, and cleaning up after your pet are all steps in the right direction to keep the water flowing to Lake Mead clean.
Around the county, some flood control facilities are incorporating park amenities. When we come back, how those are being built with safety in mind.
How much water flows through the Las Vegas Wash every day on its way to Lake Mead? Is it 15 million gallons, 150 million gallons, 15 billion gallons, or 150 billion gallons? The answer when we come back.
See that clogged storm drain? Something like that, when it rains, will cause water to back up and flood our streets. Hello, Regional Flood Control District. I'd like to report a clogged storm drain. City and county employees are working hard to keep your storm drains clean. If you spot a clogged storm drain, call and report it.
Help protect the environment by keeping our drains and washes clean. Report clogged storm drains by calling 685-0000.
At a time when Southern Nevada needs to be water smart, did you know taking your car to a car wash saves not only gallons of water, but also traps all that dirt and other nasty pollutants? Washing your car in the driveway allows grease, soap, and oil to flow down the street into storm drains and onto Lake Mead, our primary source for drinking water. Do your part, wash smart, a clean car and a cleaner environment. This message brought to you by the Stormwater Quality Management Committee, a program of the Regional Flood Control District.
How much water flows through the Las Vegas Wash every day on its way to Lake Mead? An average of 150 million gallons of water flows through the wash daily. Most of that water comes from the water treatment facility upstream, but runoff from the district's flood control network also flows through the wash. Over-irrigating a lawn, washing cars in the driveway, and draining swimming pools can send polluted water through the wash. Make sure to use commercial car washes and consider switching to desert landscaping.
Welcome back. Parks and trails are important features that can really enhance a community. Carrie Ann takes a look at how detention basins and channels are including recreation.
Of the 85 detention basins the district has built, 13 of those include features like ball fields, picnic areas, and walking trails. And while these facilities can be a win-win for the community, it's important to remember their primary purpose is for flood control.
We have detention basins and completed channels in Clark County, and each one of those facilities has areas, such as in the detention basins, that are only utilized when there's storm events occurring. And so what we can do in those times when the storm events aren't occurring is use those facilities and those areas for uses other than flood control, such as a recreational use. You can put trails along channels and access roads. You can also put soccer fields in the detention basins or ball fields in the detention basins. and utilize those areas for recreational uses as opposed to just flood control uses when it's dry out. When we're doing a design of one of our facilities, whether it's a channel or a detention basin, we're now looking at that facility to see if there's an opportunity for a future recreational use. If that's the case, we can manipulate that design to some extent to accommodate that use in the future. But keep in mind that we can't use flood control money to pay for the parks or pay for the amenities along the trail. That has to be paid by some other funding source. We can only use flood control money for the flood control facility itself.
In today's economy, budgets are being cut. With limited resources, a lot of times, once a flood control facility is complete, finding money to add recreational features is a tough sell. The Southern Nevada Public Lands Management Act provides funding for such amenities. The law, established in 1998, allows for money acquired from the sale of public land to be used to build park features.
The Southern Nevada Public Lands Management Act was passed, which provides a funding source for the entities for parks and trails. And we've been able to marry up our projects with the trail projects and do the projects all as one big project as opposed to multiple projects to get these trails constructed.
We're along the Buffalo Channel, which is in the Lone Mountain Trail alignment in northwest Las Vegas, and we're by the Lake Mead pedestrian bridge that's a part of the Lone Mountain Trail. The Lone Mountain Trail extends for about 6.5 miles. It starts back to the south by Summerlin Parkway, by where we have the Bonanza Trail, and it runs along the Buffalo Channel alignment up to the north, and it ends up by Alexander Road by Wayne Bunker Family Park. The trail was mainly funded through the BLM's Southern Nevada Public Lands Management Act, and the city received about $5.5 million in funding for these last two phases of the trail.
We're on the upper Las Vegas Wash, the most recent portion that was just developed by the city of North Las Vegas. And as you can see, it's adjacent to the flood control channel. And we've developed approximately 3.5 miles that extends from Deer Springs south to Craig Road. It's part of a regional trail network that is being developed throughout the valley and in the city of North Las Vegas. Right now we have funding to develop approximately 15 miles of trails, including some trailheads and pedestrian bridges, and that's being funded by the Southern Nevada Public Land Management Act.
While funding from SNPLMA relieves some of the financial concerns, the increased popularity in multi-use facilities brought on some additional concerns about safety. The district has set up some specific criteria for how multi-use facilities must be built.
When the idea of using flood control facilities as multi-use facilities and recreational facilities first came up, we were a little concerned about that because we were concerned about public safety. And so we instituted some policies and worked with the entities to create some different criteria, some minimum criteria that the entities need to follow to ensure the safety of the public when they're using these facilities for recreational purposes. Well, some of the rules that we put in place include benching the areas in the detention basins where the soccer fields or the ball fields are going to be constructed. So what I mean by that is we raise those areas up so that they're above the minor storm event water surface elevation. So water starts ponding around the benched area as opposed to on the benched area. What that does is it gives the people using those parks, if they're in the detention basin when it's raining, it gives those people time to see that the water is rising up in the detention basin. It gives them time to exit the detention basin and get to safety.
The BLM provides us with a lot of the money that we see for these trails and parks, and it's funded through the Southern Nevada Public Lands Management Act. A lot of the trails that we've built with SNPLMA, are these big regional backbone trails, and then we have some of the smaller trails that connect into these larger regional trails. We see a lot of users on our trails. I mean, we'll see people, young kids making their way to school using the trail, and you see people walking the dogs, and then more active people that maybe run or bike on the trail. We just see a wide variety of people that do use the trails in general within the city.
Certainly there's a benefit to the community by having these projects built along the flood control channels and within the detention basins. We're getting two uses for the price of one. We're really getting a detention basin and the flood protection as well as a recreational amenity with all these projects.
The funding that we get through the BLM's critical to the city at this point. I mean, there just aren't the general funds in the city to construct these types of parks and trails. A lot of these trails wouldn't be here if it weren't for this supplemental funding that has come through SNPLMA, and it costs us, a lot less to construct these types of facilities.
Valley-wide, more than 820 miles of trail are existing or planned. When complete, residents will be able to walk or ride their bike from the north side of the valley all the way down to the Las Vegas Wash near the Silver Bowl.
The district is working diligently to build flood control facilities as quickly as possible, but once they're finished, keeping them clear of trash and debris becomes another problem. When we come back, the flood dangers of desert dumping.
Next time you're at the grocery store, should you ask for paper or plastic bags? The answer when we come back.
Hi, I'm Terry Fader. Living in the desert, you may not realize it, but 6 inches of water can knock you off your feet.
I can knock you off your feet too, honey.
And 18 inches of water can make a car float.
You don't need root beer and ice cream to make a car float?
This is serious, Vicky. It's flash flood season and people need to know the facts.
The fact is, you can have a lot of fun in a car, but don't be stupid. Turn around, don't drown.
The National Weather Service and the Regional Flood Control District remind you to stay safe this flash flood season.
Ah, a beautiful green lawn. You crave it, you want it, so you fertilize and you water and 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 you fertilize and you water. But did you ever stop to think all those chemicals and all that water can run off your lawn, down the storm drain, and straight into Lake Mead, our primary source for drinking water? Water smart and follow guidelines for fertilizing your lawn. You'll protect our environment and it can save you money. This message has been brought to you by the Stormwater Quality Management Committee, a program of the Regional Flood Control District.
Next time you're at the grocery store, should you ask for paper or plastic bags? Neither. While plastic bags consume 40% less energy to produce, they can take 1,000 years to decompose. When 1 ton of paper bags is reused or recycled, between 13 and 17 trees can be saved. Instead, use reusable bags. The Flood Control District offers them for free.
When you talk about protecting the environment, that can feel like an overwhelming task, but several groups in town are up for the challenge. Carrie Ann talks to some people who have made the environment their #1 priority.
The district has completed 85 detention basins and more than 550 miles of channel or underground storm drain. Those facilities help carry the water through the valley to Lake Mead. But if a facility is clogged with trash or debris, flooding could occur. Trash in the facilities is also a big problem for the environment. The water that flows through our network is untreated when it reaches Lake Mead.
We funded over $1.6 billion in flood control infrastructure over the last 25 years. But as important to that is maintaining those facilities. We spend money on maintenance when people damage a fence, illegal dumping in our channels or in our basins, graffiti on a channel, things like that, which are just irresponsible behavior. All that we use public dollars to make that system work, and that's costing the public money to do that.
In the desert, if you're dumping something that you think, oh, well, it's natural, it's going to biodegrade, it doesn't really degrade that quickly in the desert because there's not a lot of moisture, and it's also not native to the desert. So the animals that live there, it can be a hazard. We have the desert tortoise here in southern Nevada, which is an amazing species. It's threatened. And you wonder, okay, what's the connection between desert dumping and an endangered species like that? Well, it turns out that when there's litter around, ravens are attracted to litter, ravens and crows, and they also will eat tortoise hatchlings. And so one of the impacts there is that, if you have litter, you're bringing in other species that are going to prey on endangered and threatened species.
With the transition period that Southern Nevada is going through right now, there has been a substantial increase in desert dumping. It doesn't matter whether it's on BLM or whether it's on City of Las Vegas, North Las Vegas, county area, it's a problem area-wide. With that, we're working with UNLV and we're trying to make a one-point contact with all people that are interested and need to be involved with desert dumping and the cleanup of desert dumping.
The danger to our flood control network is shopping carts, mattresses, things like that during a flood could block a outlet to a detention basin or could wrap up around a pier on a bridge and really greatly reduce that capacity of that system, and then all of a sudden those flows could escape.
There used to be a lot of construction dumping. When there was a big boom, there'd be a lot of construction dumping. And then as the housing units got established, then we saw more landscaping dumping. You know, people are putting in their yards or their xeriscape, changing to xeriscaping. And now, unfortunately, with the economic downturn, what we're seeing is a lot of household dumping. So foreclosure dumping is what we're seeing a lot. Couches and basically the interior of people's homes. It's very sad. And we think what's happening there is not that individuals are doing that, but subcontractors of homes that have been foreclosed on. So like banks have subcontractors who contract out, who end up taking all of the stuff left in the houses and dumping it in the desert.
A lot of household goods, televisions, refrigerators, freezers, mattresses. There are people that actually strip and take the steel out of the mattresses and leave the product behind in piles. Per year, we pick up an average of about 375,000 cubic yards of debris. Hypothetically, that's like 9 football fields about a foot thick of debris that has to be picked up and removed, whether it's in the right-of-way or on the undeveloped areas that the city is responsible to maintain. We do provide a volunteer program a couple times a year that we've also stepped up and provided services for the cleanup.
I enjoy coming to work every day because I know that I'm making a difference. The things that I'm doing are helping volunteers. We've had, in 2010, we had over 2,000 volunteers that came out and helped clean up. And so I know that I feel good about myself when I'm helping the environment. I'm helping others help the environment. Being able to plan for the future and what's the things that we can be doing now to help the next generation really engage in this problem and solve these issues that we've been struggling with.
I take pride in it, representing the city and the citizens around our community. Like I says, you're part of the solution, not part of the problem. And that's what we're here for, is to become part of the solution, to minimize the financial impact that we have to work with in today's environment.
So ultimately it comes back to why should you care? Because you want to live in a healthy environment and you want to be healthy yourself.
Spreading the message to protect the environment is the goal of several organizations around town. The Conservation District of Southern Nevada holds a poster contest each year. The goal is to teach elementary school students to keep storm drains free of trash and debris.
The Conservation District of Southern Nevada has put on the 4th annual Stormwater Pollution Poster Contest, and it's for 4th and 5th grade students, and we encourage them to make posters and create a message on how they can prevent stormwater pollution.
There was an instructional flyer that came out that gave the guidelines for the poster contest. We read over it in class. It went home with them for homework, and I just told them, if you're going to do this, make sure you follow the instructions specifically. And Ava took those instructions and she ran with them. And we turned our poster in and didn't think anything of it. And then all of a sudden we got a phone call about the poster.
Ava's poster was really great because she actually went out and took some pictures on location, and you could tell that she made the connection between storm drains all the way to Lake Mead.
Well, I was very excited and thought it would be a fun opportunity for my class and me. We went online and we researched about stormwater pollution and how it hurts the environment and how we can help it by not littering and not washing cars every day.
I challenged them to come up with something that would communicate the importance of not polluting the water that we have. And they did a lot of research, they took photos, they did a lot of their own time exploring and thinking about this.
Yeah, and we went to Lake Mead, we went in the storm drains and took a picture of all the trash that we found. And it was surprising because there was more trash than usual.
And then when we started hearing details about what we had actually won, we were amazed.
We're going to get to ride a boat. We're going to learn more about the environment and how to help it. And I think we're going to learn even more about stormwater pollution and that everyday things can just hurt the environment.
We've talked about the global picture as far as water and recycling. but we haven't narrowed it down to specifically how does this affect us here in the valley. So I think that's going to be a really good thing. But I think when we go on this little field trip, we're going to get a much better clue about how each of us has a part in making things better. Every year, the winner of the poster contest, along with their class, take a field trip to Lake Mead. They learn about what they should be doing at home to protect our environment.
Thanks, Carrie Ann. Keeping storm drains free of trash and debris is a very important message. Coming up, what the district is doing to communicate that message just a little more creatively.
I'm Agent Smith. I'm Agent Jones. And we're back busting people who pollute Clark County.
Oh,
Sir, you're not done with us.
What have I done now?
Sir, did you know by washing your car at home puts chemicals and trash into storm drains?
Really?
Car washes recycle water and they don't pollute Lake Mead.
Oh.
Is Clark County your home?
And you don't like trash in your home?
No.
Then don't trash Clark County. It's our home too.
Okay.
Did you know during the summer, residents use up to 90% of their drinking water to irrigate their lawn and landscaping? Overwatering needlessly wastes water and can transport pollutants like pet waste and fertilizers into storm drains, into the Las Vegas Wash, and ultimately into Lake Mead. Subtracting 1 minute from your watering time can reduce the amount of water you use by 25%.
Communicating the message of flood safety and protecting our desert land and lake are very important. We do our best with our public service announcements to grab your attention and use a little humor along the way. In our latest PSA, Agents Smith and Jones make a third appearance for our cause, and my dog Austin is the star of the show.
I'm Agent Smith.
And I'm Agent Jones.
We're busting people who pollute Clark County.
Uh-oh.
Sir, your dog left a little gift for us.
He did?
Sir, pet waste can wash off lawns and down oh, God.
Sir, when Fido leaves a gift,
It's your duty.
Do your duty. 2, 1, action.
I'm Agent Smith.
And I'm Agent Jones. Action.
And we're busting people who pollute Clark County. Whoa!
Face first.
Yeah.
Here we go.
We're busting people who pollute Clark County. Whoa!
You just do it right in the lens. Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1, action.
Sir, your dog left us a little gift.
Sir. Want me to do my line or not?
Yes, sir. Action, everybody. Uh-oh.
Sir, your dog left us a little gift.
He did?
Sir, pet waste can wash off lawns and down storm drains untreated into Lake Mead.
Really?
Sir. When Fido leaves us a little gift, do your duty. Treat it and beat it.
Do something. Good job.
Yay.
Good boy. Good boy. All right, I'll meet you guys over there then.
Yes.
I'm Agent Smith.
And I'm Agent Jones.
We're busting people who pollute Clark County.
Uh-oh.
Sir, your dog left a little gift for us.
He did?
Sir, pet waste can wash off lawns, down storm drains, untreated into Lake Mead.
Oh.
Sir, when Fido leaves a gift, do your duty. Scoop it and toss it.
Oh, okay.
Do something positive.
Don't trash Clark County. It's our home, too.
And that's going to do it for this edition of the Flood Channel. Remember to log on to our website at regionalflood.org for more information, and you can also find us on Facebook. For all of us here at the Flood Channel, I'm Betty Hollister, and remember to always be flood safe.